I think we're ready to go. Good morning and welcome to this online hearing of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Ottawa under the Planning Act. This video conference is also live streaming on YouTube. With me are my fellow panel members, Jocelyn Chandler, Stephen Lewis, Terrence Otto, and Martin Vervoort. My name is Fabian Poulin and I will chair this meeting today. The procedure for this hearing will be as follows. Listed on the agenda and appearing on the screen are the applications we will hear today. For the sake of efficiency, the committee may deal with agenda items in a different order. Committee members have reviewed the planning reports and any written submissions in support or opposition to each of the applications. Today, we'll hear oral submissions from the interested parties. Notice regarding minor variance applications, notwithstanding pre-consultation with staff, it is the responsibility of the applicant to identify all required variances accurately on the application to one, add a new variance or increase the extent of a variance requested. It must be given in accordance with the Planning Act and may require the application to be recirculated for the next hearing date at a cost to the applicant at the prescribed fee. If an applicant amends their plans with no impact to the variances or to reduce the variances requested, recirculation may not be required. Decisions of the Committee of Adjustment may be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal for a fee within 20 days of the date of the written decision. Only the applicant, the minister, or a specified person or public body that has an interest in the matter may appeal the decision. A specified person does not include an individual or community association. As part of the statutory notification requirements, each applicant was required to post a sign on the property and file a statutory declaration confirming the sign posting. This declaration must be on file today before we can hear the application. Without it, I may have to adjourn the application or administer an oath if necessary. Can the coordinator confirm that we have received all statutory declarations?
Mr. Chair, we have received only one for item number 9, 5692 Buckles.
Thank you very much, Madam Coordinator. I will administer the oath to all others. The committee may ask for a brief presentation of the application, followed by questions from members and submissions from the public. Please address your comments to the chair, starting with your name and spelling it if necessary, and your municipal address for the record. The committee limits presentations to 5 minutes. Any exceptions will be at the chair's discretion. And before we begin, we have 2 items of business to address. Does any member present need to declare an interest in any of the applications that are before us today or are on the agenda of another panel? No declarations of interest. We also have the minutes of January 11th hearing to adopt. I'd like to ask the panel for approval of these minutes. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Terry, can you just nod because I'm getting some weird signal on yours, or reply? Seems he's having some difficulty. So I'll note that there are 4 members that approve the minutes of 11 January.
Verbally, I approve it. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much,
I'll
Terry.
turn the camera off because it's not working at all.
Okay, thank you. Going forward, if you wouldn't mind, Terry, then you'll have to respond verbally to as you vote.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we will proceed with the scheduled applications for this hearing and deal firstly with items that may be adjourned. We have several today, and I'll start with item number 4. This is having to do with 3220A March Road. The agent for this file is Ms. Clark. Are you available, Ms. Clark?
Hi there, Allison Clark.
Good morning, Allison.
Hi there, how are you?
I am fine, thank you. You'd like to adjourn your application today?
Yeah, we would. This goes back to our first hearing in December. City's request was for us to perform an EIS and to perform a phase one just because the property is close to a landfill. The EIS is done, but the phase one requires a bit more time.
Okay, how much more time?
When is the next meeting date in March?
1st of March.
I think I would like to go to the meeting after that one if we can.
That would be March 15th.
Okay.
Okay. I'd like to ask the planner if he agrees with that timeline. And Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Chair. So we believe that the application will also require a minor variance to account for the lot width requirement. So the lot width is 21 meters. It has 21 meters of frontage. So we believe that this would have to be adjourned sine die to introduce the minor variance.
Okay. Do you understand that, Ms. Clark?
I do. I'm just confused why that wouldn't have been raised back in December.
Mr. Graham?
This was recently brought to light to me by the committee, so it was not noted back then, but this is our position at this point.
I think I had understood previously that if this was adjourned sine die, that it would now fall under the new OP.
Yes, that is correct. And with the policy that that you might be thinking about, the rural severance policy, that has an error. There have been some applications that have gone through despite that policy being in place and having that error.
So you don't anticipate then, if we are to adjourn sine die, that we will have an issue with this rural severance?
Officially, we need to note these positions and note the policies, but we are acknowledging that it is an error in the OP.
So, Ms. Clark, we have in the past, this panel has approved applications with this error on it. So I think sine die is the best course for you right now, but I'll leave it up to you to decide whether you'd like to do that.
Is it possible that I can proceed? I guess I can't proceed with the severance first and then reapply for the minor variance separately, because then my severance would not be conforming, I gather. Is that correct? Can the planner speak to that?
Mr. Graham?
I believe your understanding is correct, yes.
Okay, so I mean, I think my only option then is sine die.
Correct.
I don't see that I have another option, so I don't think there's much choice here.
Okay. Okay. I will then ask the panel now for approval of this application being adjourned.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
I've just received some information from our senior planner that maybe the severance could be adjourned and the variance done separately with the variance condition later on.
Okay.
Would you like to proceed that way, Ms. Clark?
Yeah, that would be agreeable.
Okay. So what date then?
Let's stick with the March 15th for the severance.
Okay.
And if the planner there, Jack, if you can provide me with the information regarding the minor variance that you've noted, we will apply for that separately as your senior planner has suggested.
Yep, I will be in touch.
Mr. Chair, if I could, committee staff wouldn't be able to process the minor variance application in time for March 15th. So if the expectation is that the variance would precede the consent, there may be an issue there.
What date would you suggest?
Just for it, Mr. Chair, for any new application, we'd probably be looking at April 5th, being the earliest time period that we could circulate notice under the Act.
Okay.
That would be agreeable. This is Allison Clark, sorry, speaking. If it makes most sense, yeah, to push the severance and the minor variance to the April 15th, that's fine.
Okay. Ms. Chandra, you had a comment?
I thought that what was suggested was to put a new date on the severance and that they'd make the minor variance conditional, but I think this is a preferable option that they be dealt at the same hearing.
I also
think-
had thought that, committee member, thank you. But I think, to your point, this could be more agreeable to have both items on the April 5th agenda.
So to that end, I'd like to ask the panel for approval of this agenda being, this application being adjourned to April the 5th. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you, Mr. Otto. Okay, now we're on to adjournment for application number 5, 6, and 7. I think all three of these can be dealt with at the same time. They're all having to do with similar properties. And I'm looking for, let's see, Mr. Thompson.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, Mr. Thompson. You'd like to have your three applications adjourned today?
Yes, we're comfortable with adjourning for another period. We have a series of meetings set up with local residents to speak to them in the next week or two. So will give us some time to respond appropriately.
That's awesome. Good. So what's the timeline you're looking for?
I'd be comfortable with March 15th.
Okay. Although the panel, I'd like to ask the panel if they've got, if they approve this application be adjourned to March the 15th. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Great. Your applications are adjourned till March the 15th. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Now, the next application request for adjournment is application having to do with application number 8. This has to do with 4163 Stonecrest and William Lyle Dolan. Are you available? Mr. Dolan, are you available?
Mr. Chair, I believe his agent is Scott Murray, and I think he's on the line.
Okay, Mr. Murray, thank you. You're muted, sir. Mr. Murray, you're still muted. There you are. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I'm sorry about the mix-up. I'm not as familiar with this technology as perhaps I should be.
That's okay.
I'm here to speak to those matters for Mr. Dolan.
Okay.
And I understand that the planning department is looking for a further adjournment. That is agreeable. Once again, we're going to rejig the boundaries to keep everybody content, and I think we can do that the next time around.
Okay. And what's the date you'd prefer to have this?
Is there a date later in March than March 15?
There is a date in March 15th, yes.
Is there one beyond that in the month of March?
No.
Well, let's aim for the 15th of March, and I can get my application, the revised version, in by the end of this week. Hopefully that should do it.
Okay. I'd like to ask the planner, do you think that's enough time? Mr. Tieft?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we agree that March 15th is acceptable.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask the panel for approval of this application to be adjourned to March the 15th. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Great. So it is adjourned till March the 15th. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So now we'll move on to application number 10. It is also being requested to be adjourned. Application has number 10 has to do with 930 Smith Road. John Paul Boisvert, are you available?
Yes, I am.
Good morning,
Good morning.
sir. Would you like to
Morning.
have your application adjourned today?
I would. I know my engineer had their information completed, but it's not adequate time for the committee to review. So I would appreciate another couple days, hopefully to the next hearing, for an adjournment, if that's possible.
Okay. Mr. Graham,
Thank you,
would you
Mr.
like to
Chair.
have this, would you like to have this application adjourned to the next hearing?
We would agree with an adjournment, but we believe the best course of action may be an adjournment sine die to have all of the new materials reviewed. And we believe that the incoming materials may affect the application's nature, so it may require recirculation. So we believe sine die is appropriate.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Bover, what do you think about sine die?
What is the timeline on sine die? Is that just until people get back to me, or is it for the next hearing?
No, it's not for the next hearing. It'll have to be recirculated if there's going to be greater variances required. So it's going to be probably a recirculation, and then the timeline will be set at that time.
Thanks. Do I have an option?
Yeah, the whole thing is you have to have all your work done by the next hearing if that's what you're doing. But Mr. Graham suggests you're going to require recirculation, which is going to require a longer period.
Okay, I guess it doesn't seem like I have an option, so I guess I'll agree to that.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, all panel members in favor of sine die this application, all please raise your hands. Thank you very much. Your application has been adjourned. Now
Okay,
we'll
thank
move
you.
on. You're welcome. Move on to application number 1. And just gotta get to it. Application number 1 has to do with 8333 Cooper Hill Road. And we're looking for Mr. Tim Broadhead. You available, sir? There you are, sir. You're still muted. Oh, there you are. Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Tim Broadhead.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
I would like to administer an oath concerning the sign posting on your property. Can you take that oath this morning?
I can.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing as instructed and was clearly visible and legible during that time? Do you swear?
I swear.
Okay. So could you please just give us before we begin, I've got some, I guess, housekeeping to do with respect to the notice, having to do with file number 0018. The frontage is now 75 meters, not 50. The depth is 150 meters, and the area is 1.1 hectares. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct. It was a change that I made simply because it makes more sense in terms of how the property is laid out. It protects one field, which I've been cutting and would like to continue cutting.
Okay. A further amendment to the retained lands is the frontage now is 425 meters on Cooper Hill Road and approximately 18.75 hectares. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
Thank you. I would like to ask you to provide a brief description of your application today and a reminder that you have 5 minutes to do so.
Yeah, I've submitted all the material. The present property is approximately 50 acres. I've been here for since 1980, roughly. And so the application is simply to sever 2 lots, which would be for residential purposes. And I've taken into account the recommendations of the environmental impact assessment, which was to protect some woodlands on the east side of the property. The existing house will, of course, remain on the property that is left, the 18 plus acres that are left. No changes is foreseen in that respect. The only question I have, Mr. Chair, is that there were a number of conditions that were attached by the city planner, and it wasn't clear to me when the conditions refer to the owner, whether it's me as the present owner or whether conditions would apply to some future purchaser of these 2 lots.
Mr. Graham. Can you respond?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Broadhead.
So the conditions as written on the report need to be cleared within 2 years after the approval of the application, at which time the conditions are clear. cleared, then the consent is approved and fully completed. But the conditions apply to the owner of the property at the time of owning it. So whoever owns it, that's where it applies.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Graham. Now, with those 5 conditions, are you agreeable to those 5 conditions, Mr. Broadhead?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great, thank you. Mr. Graham, can you please give us your comments with respect to this application?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With respect to the application, we'll note that we have objected to the application due to the rural severance policies, specifically the errors in the official plan policy that we've discussed before. We have no other concerns with the application.
This is the same issue we were discussing with Ms. Clark earlier. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask our conservation partners if you've got any comments with respect to this application. Okay, their silence is clear. Okay, now I'd like to proceed on to the panel, ask the panel if they have any questions or comments. Mr. Otto.
No concerns. I'm in favor of the application.
Thank you. Ms. Chandler.
I have no concerns or comments. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis.
No concerns, but this will adhere to the new official plan. Am I right? Mr.
Yes, Mr. Graham.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So this is a policy that the policy team has noted is an error. So it is in conflict with the written text of the official plan. However, the official plan team is bringing forward an official plan amendment to correct it. So we are noting that it does not conform with the written policy of severances in the official plan.
Thank you.
Mr. Vervoort.
I'm in favor of proceeding as well.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to ask the panel for their approval of this application. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Your application is approved, Mr. Broadhead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Now moving on to application number 2. Application number 2 has to do with 3267 White Spruce Street. And I'm looking for Brett Andrew Cinnamon. Mr. Cinnamon. I see an Audrey Stryker.
Yeah, that's me. It's me and my wife, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. I would like to administer an oath concerning the signposting on your property. Can I do that this morning?
Yeah.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing as instructed and was clearly visible and legible during that time? Do you swear?
I swear.
So I note that the planning department does not have any concerns. And also our conservation partners do not have any concerns. But I'd like to ask Mr. Teeft if he has any further comments.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. As you say, we have no concerns, but the applicant is also seeking a corner side yard variance just to permit parking in front of the dwelling, as the new addition will have a little bit of overlap with the driveway, but we have no concerns with this.
Okay, thank you very much. And I note for the applicant that the forestry department suggested city trees within the road allowance are protected under the tree protection bylaw. Removal permits aren't required for Ward 20, just for your information. Okay, so now I'd like to ask for comments from the panel. If Mr. Otto, would you like to comment?
No comments or concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vervoort.
No comments or concerns. I believe it meets the 4 tests.
Thank you. Ms. Chandler.
I have no comments or concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Otto. Mr. Lewis.
I support the application as well. Thanks.
Thank you. All those, I'd like to ask the panel now for approval of this application. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Your application is approved, sir. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Now on to our next application, which is application number 3. Application number 3 has to do with 1835 Stittsville, Maine. And I'm looking for Thomas Freeman. Are you available? Oh, there you are.
Hi, how
Good
are you?
morning.
Morning.
Great. Are you able to take the oath for the sign posting this morning?
Yes, I am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing as instructed and was clearly visible and legible during that time? Do you swear?
I swear.
Okay, so I understand that there's a new wording for condition number 2 on this variance. Are you aware of that, Mr.?
Yes, I'm aware of that condition being reworded.
Do you agree with it?
Yep.
Great. Okay, I note that planning doesn't have any concerns, but there are 13 conditions. Are you aware of those 13 conditions, sir?
We are aware of the 13 conditions. We are requesting that condition 8 regarding the noise attenuation study be removed. The committee is willing to consider this.
Okay, can you tell us why?
We believe that the scale of development and the proximity to the existing roadways, so Main Street, and the presence of vegetation between the roadway and the proposed new lots is significant and will mitigate these issues.
Okay.
There's a wide setback from the actual roadway to where the lots begin due to a hydro east corridor and a driveway.
Okay. Mr. Harrigan, do you have any comments on that?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, the department does request the noise study be maintained on this application as a condition of approval. They are within proximity of an arterial main street right at the edge of the urban boundary that does go in and out of the city. So quite a major road there. And this is residential development, which is quite sensitive to noise. And we do need that engineering study just to provide a comprehensive analysis of the potential risks and sensitivities, and to provide more specifically mitigation measures for construction material, certain designs, window designs, air conditioning, any type of those standard kind of design practices to ensure that these lots that are being created, they're not going to have any issues with noise for the future. I understand this is a smaller scale development, but it is still residential and it does still need to have these concerns. And more specifically, speak to the vegetation. I do understand that there are some vegetation there, but as mentioned previously by our engineering staff, that is quite tricky to prove for blocking noise. That would have to be thoroughly evaluated by an engineer to show that that vegetation is adequate for noise reduction. So that's not been a position that works out well in previous files, but especially here with the proximity to that major arterial road going in and out of the city, a noise study is warranted.
Okay, anything further, Mr. Freeman?
Mr. Chair, if I may just jump in here, Jamie Posen, also from FOTAN. One of the reasons why Thomas and I were discussing possibly requesting that condition be removed actually comes from a couple of other files that I've had over the years with the committee. And one that comes to mind actually was literally right adjacent to Highway 417 in the downtown core. And in that case, the request was made, ironically, because I've heard everything staff is saying, completely understand, and of course, as a professional planner, I'm aware of the policies there. But the example that I'm giving here right next to the highway, the committee actually removed that condition on the grounds that residents and future residents for that particular severance would absolutely know what they were getting into and understanding. And also because it was similar to this case, a low density development where there's only 1 or 2 new buildings being proposed. So it was partly in light of that experience that I had, and also having seen over many years, seeing other examples of noise studies being removed. So we thought we would make the request, just given the example here that, again, low density development with a fairly substantial setback from the road.
Okay. Anything further, Mr. Harrigan?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I can't comment too much on the previous files. As you know, we don't tend to operate on a precedent for planning, we really do have to evaluate them on a case-by-case basis. For right here, I don't think it's appropriate to use the lower density as justification to remove this. Whether they're proposing 20 units or 1 unit, they still need to have the exact same considerations. I don't think it's fair to say this 1 unit doesn't afford the same considerations for noise as every other unit that we would see. And again, this is a major arterial study, and we do need that noise mitigation practices.
Thank you, Mr. Harrigan. I'd now like to ask the panel for any comments they may have. Ms. Chandler?
I don't have any concern with the severances, and with respect to the planning department, I find a noise study to be overkill here, knowing the road, knowing the huge right of way that it has in the setbacks. I'm not at all concerned, and anyone living there will know where they're moving into, and they can certainly put their own noise mitigation measures in if it's an issue for them. So
Thank
I
you.
would remove that condition.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis?
Yeah, I'd echo Ms. Chandler's comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Otto?
No, I think we could remove the noise study. It's I'm just looking across the street. There's all kinds of houses right on Stittsville, Maine. And I'm quite sure anybody buying these lots would be well aware there may be noise or not. So it just makes no sense to me to impose extra costs on these people to do this. So I'm
Thank
in
you.
favor of that with the striking of it.
Thank you. Mr. Vervoort?
I agree with the comments of the other members of the panel.
Okay. So to that end, we would like to go to the panel, ask the panel to approve this application without condition number 8, noise attenuation study. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Your application is approved, Mr. Freeman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Now we are on to application number 9. Application number 9 has to do with 5692 Buckles Street. Krista Libman, are you available? Good morning, Ms. Libman.
Good morning.
I don't have to administer an oath for this,
Correct.
for the sign posting. Thank you very much for providing your statutory declaration. I note for the panel that there is a PRED report that suggests that the retained parcel now is 42.7 hectares from 41.9. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. I note that there are some minor concerns for this application from planning, and I'd like to ask Mr. Teef to highlight those.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we just have concerns that there are significant woodlands and unevaluated wetlands located on the property. But we are confident this could be addressed through condition number 1 with an EIS.
Okay. Ms. Libman, are you aware of the 6 conditions to be imposed on this application should it be approved?
I am, Mr. Chair, and I would just like to speak briefly to condition number 1. If the coordinator could put up my presentation and move to slide 10. So this, the image in the back is the proposed subdivision plan with the proposed severed lot in red. And the image down below is a screen capture of Schedule C11B, the Natural Heritage System from the official plan. And you can see that the green area is what is the Natural Heritage Features overlay. And anything that's colored orange is actually just designated village. And you can see on this image and on the next slide, slide 11, that the area that we're proposing for the severance is cleared. It doesn't appear to have the overlay on the OP schedule. And so if the committee is agreeable, we'd ask that this condition be removed.
Thank you, Ms. Libman. I'd like to ask panel for their comments. Mr. Vervoort.
I'd like to hear Mr. Teef's response first, please.
Okay, Mr. Teef.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. So we would just be asking for a scope DIS just to sort of get an idea of what's on the property, because we do have on our through Geo Ottawa, we are seeing that there are some significant woodlands and unevaluated wetlands just sort of on the parcel edges. So that's all we'd be asking for.
Mr. Vervoort?
I just wondered if Libman has a response to that.
I guess we have a difference of opinion regarding where the unevaluated wetlands and natural features are. Looking at Geo Ottawa, it doesn't appear to me to be within the severed parcel. Definitely an EIS will be done and as expected for the subdivision, but it just it's just sort of one barrier that we'd like to avoid if possible.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I think under the circumstances, the fact that an EIS will be done with respect to the subdivision and the future development of this parcel, I think maybe in this particular case, the EIS would not be required for this one single one-off lot at this point.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Chandler?
Just to Mr. Tieft. Is the policy for an EIS that it is affected by the natural heritage overlay, or that it's adjacent to the natural heritage overlay?
Mr. Tieft? There you are.
I believe it's if it's within the natural heritage overlay.
Mr. Harrigan, you would say something?
If I may, through you, Mr. Chair, the environmental policies are with you're adjacent to them or within the natural features themselves too. But any natural features on the subject site is a trigger for the EIS in itself. For that, and I would just to note too about the schedule C11 there, as per official plan, it's not an exact match to what's exactly on the ground. The EIS triggers are meant to be what's existing on the ground there, so the boundaries of the actual natural features don't often line up perfectly with the C11 schedules. They're meant to be a good reference point that's starting to get you in moving the right direction, identify where these potential features are, but features change over time. The wetland boundaries move, then the significant woodlands expand, species at risk habitat get into the area as well too, and those are all considerations for an environmental impact statement. So there is a lot of more moving parts here than just what is shown on the C11 schedule.
Is this area part of one of the new expansion urban boundary designations? It's been in the urban boundary for Osgood Village Greeley Village for some time.
That's correct. It's
So
Osgood.
the expectation is this land is going to be developed in the future.
Correct.
In that case, I agree with Mr. Vervoort that to undertake an EIS to sever out an existing lot, it's going to get done eventually, and unlikely that very much of it will be preserved if it's been brought into if it's part of the urban boundary. So I think it's probably unnecessary to have condition one.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis?
Yeah, I'm happy taking condition one out. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Otto?
I'm the same, take it out.
Thank you.
Support.
Okay. So to that end, I'd like to ask the panel for approval of this application without the first condition, but the remaining 5 will stand. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Your application has been approved, Ms. Libman, without condition number 1. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. That concludes our work for today. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.